Okay, the diagrams are getting tougher, so we're going to talk these through a little bit. The first thing I have to do is I have to decide whether I have one main idea or multiple main ideas. So I have Poseidon, and it's Poseidon, did he give Tyro, and then the or here, there are two different things that could have been given. So what I'm really looking at is one main idea with two possible things that are given. So I know I'm going to start with one main idea line, and let's start getting things on it. First thing I always want to ask is, what's my subject? Did Poseidon give the beautiful Tyro a pair of sons or a curse? The answer is a pair of sons, although it was kind of creepy how she got them. So Poseidon is the one that's doing the giving, so I'm going to put him in my subject area. I always have to look at how to spell him. Poseidon, what is my verb? Well, it's not just give. Remember, in English, when we make questions, sometimes my helping verb pops up front. So it's did give, and I want to make sure I capitalize whatever word is capitalized in the sentence. Poseidon did give. Now, the question is, what is the object that's most directly related to give? What was actually given? Well, what was given is either a pair of sons or a curse, one or the other. So those are direct objects. I'm going to put my direct object line in here, but now because I have two possible direct objects, I'm going to split it. And I'm going to say, okay, we have an or as our conjunction. Poseidon did give, well, what's the actual subject here? So, a pair of sons or a curse. Curse is easy, that's my second one. Pair of sons is a little bit harder, but I see this word right here, most common preposition in English, which means this is a prepositional phrase. Remember, prepositional phrases always dangle. So what is it that Poseidon actually gave? Well, that would be pair. Now, we have a, and where do I put of sons? Well, of sons is describing what kind of pair. So now I want to go through and double check. I have Poseidon did give. Oh, wait, look what I did. We still don't have the beautiful Tyro. Well, what is the beautiful Tyro? It's not the object that's most directly related to this verb, but here's your hint. I could say, did Poseidon give a pair of sons or a curse to Tyro? Yep, that could have been a prepositional phrase, which means it has to go on a prepositional phrase line. However, it's not a prepositional phrase. You don't have to. We have unknown preposition that got left out, Tyro. That is your indirect object. You then have the beautiful. Always want to go through and double check. Do I have everything now? I now have the beautiful Tyro, a pair of sons, or a curse. I have all of my words in. By the way, when I said that how she got that pair of sons was kind of creepy, Poseidon was lusting over her, so he waited until her husband was gone, and then he magically made himself look like her husband so he could sleep with her, that's really high on the creep meter, really high. Greek mythology is truly, truly creepy. But she did get a pair of sons out of it. So, you ready for the next one? Okay, here we go. We have Peleus exiled Nalus and Phrase and imprisoned Aeson. By the way, these two are the children that Tyro had with Poseidon. Aeson was supposed to be the next king of the city where she was queen. I can't remember which city right now. But when these two came back into the picture, Peleus actually took over the kingdom. He exiled both his brother and his half-brother, but he put Aeson in prison so Aeson couldn't challenge him, couldn't raise an army in exile and come back to retake the city. Greek mythology is basically one giant soap opera. Again, what do I have to do? I have to determine what my main idea looks like. So I have Peleus, and what is Peleus doing? Well, he is exiling and he is imprisoning. So he's doing two things. And then each thing, you have direct objects that are related to it. So what I have is a main subject that splits into two verbs. And actually, I'm going to make that a little bit smaller because the verbs have direct objects with them. You do kind of got to pre-plan when you're diagramming more complex sentences. So I have Peleus, and then I have the verb that splits. He does two things. Peleus, exiled. Oh, hello. I don't know how I came up with exited. Exiled. And Peleus, imprisoned. Now, who did he exile? If you notice, I have two different answers. Neleus, his half-brother, and Phris, Neleus is his full brother, Phris is his half-brother. Does it matter? Not really. Interesting story, but not pertinent to diagramming. So, this direct object line has to split again. Got to pull the right pen up. There you go. Who gets exiled? Full brother up here. Since that's what's first, I put it on the first line. Half brother down here. Who gets imprisoned? That would be oldest half-brother, Aeson. And we have to get our direct object lines in there. So these two are most directly related to exile, because they got exiled. Aeson is most directly related to imprisoned. So there's the main idea. So what do I have on there? I have Peleus, exiled, Neleus, Phris, imprisoned, Aeson. So you can see what I am left with. I've got to make sure I get those in. I have an and here. Oop, wow, that's a bad dash. And I have an and here. And there I have everything. Okay, number 3. So, did the frantic mother send Chiron his servants her secret baby? By the way, Chiron was the centaur, and quite frankly, a lot of people sent him their babies when their babies became sort of violent and they needed to be trained in how to control their tempers, or needed to be trained in how to be a good warrior and an honorable warrior. Chiron the centaur was sort of the go-to for that in mythology. So again, I have to decide, what does my main idea look like? I have the mother. The mother send. What would the actually be sending? Well, what would be sending? Mother would send baby. That's the direct object. And then all of this, that's who the baby is getting sent to. So it's not directly, that's not what's being sent, but that is indirectly related to sending, since it's something that it's where it's being sent to. And if you notice, I keep saying the word to because I could put that in a prepositional phrase. Did the frantic mother send her secret baby to Chiron and his servants? That means this is your indirect object. This is actually a pretty simple diagram, so I'm just going to kind of show you what the line should look like. So I have mother. I'm going to put that on my subject area. What did mother do? Well, it's tempting to say send, but when you have a question, your helping verb is often up front. So it's actually did send. What did the mother send? Well, that would be baby. That's our direct object. And then, of course, I would have a number of different the frantic, mother did send baby her secret baby. That's where these are all of the danglies that would go with them. Now I have to deal with Chiron and his servants. I know it is an indirect object, so I'm going to start my indirect object preposition-ish line. Okay. Remember, the X means there could be a preposition there, but we don't know what it is. I then know that the object of the preposition, my objects that are down here, are going to split. So I have to create a split. What's the first item on my split? Well, the first item on my split is going to be Chiron. I have to reform that. Put those farther down. So Chiron would go up here. What's the other item on the split? That would be servants. Would go down here. Then what's left? I have and I have his. And would go on my dotted line. His is servants. So that's what that would look like. Okay, we are back with Peleus. That is Tyro's son who stole the godship because he didn't want to share with his half-brother, who was the one that was actually given the kingship of the city. So, Peleus, what is Peleus doing? He is honoring. Who is he honoring? Well, two things. He is honoring Poseidon. He's also honoring the other gods. So I know I'm going to have one subject. I'm going to have one verb, but my direct objects are then going to split. So that's what my main idea is going to look like. So that gives me Peleus. Separate the subject from the verb with the long line. Honored. Short direct object line that ends at the main idea line. He honored Poseidon. And he honored gods. Okay, now check off what you have so that you know what you've done. Peleus honored Poseidon, gods. Well, let me get to another pen. And is going to go here. The other are describing gods, the and other. Now let's talk about this with a feast. What is with a feast describing? Is it a Peleus with a feast? No, he's always Peleus. He's a jerk with a feast. He's a jerk without a feast. Is it the honoring? Is with a feast describing what kind of honor? Oh, ding, ding, ding. With a feast is describing the type of honor that Peleus has set up. It's not a sacrifice, it's not a festival, it's a feast. So that's why with feast, A is going to go right here. Make sense? Okay, let's try the next one. Okay, we have Peleus told Jason and the other competitors about his desire for the golden fleece. So as part of the festival for Poseidon, who's Peleus' dad, Peleus set up this whole competition. Well, what Jason did is he showed up at Peleus' festival, even though Jason is actually the son of Aeson, the imprisoned rightful king. Now, Peleus at this point, it's a couple decades down the road. He's got a huge family. He's got all these sons. He really likes running this kingdom. But he knows that Jason is actually the living heir to who should inherit. So he decides to get rid of Jason by telling him about the golden fleece, which is this magical object that if Jason tries to steal it, Jason will definitely end up dead. So the whole golden fleece is actually a murder plot. So Peleus, that's going to be my subject. What did he do? Well, he told. Who did he tell? He told Jason, but he also told the other competitors. So that whole thing is a direct object. That means I'm going to have subject, verb, and then it's going to split into two different direct objects. Now I've got this little relationship word, about. That is a preposition. It's going to start a prepositional phrase. I'm looking for the noun that ends it. His, not a noun. Desire. Yeah, the desire. That's a noun. It's a thing. It's a feeling. So there's one prepositional phrase, but if you notice, it's immediately followed by another relationship word. For. Well, does that end in a noun? Sure. The golden fleece is all one thing. Or sometimes you'll see this, we'll talk about it when we get there. But that's a prepositional phrase. So let's get this diagram. Peleus is my subject. He really is a jerk face. Told. Told. Direct object, to. He told Jason. And he told competitors. And then we've got the other. Oh, I don't have a the. Erase that. That is why you double check yourself and check off words. I need an and. So let's get an and in there. So Peleus told Jason and other competitors about his desire. Okay. About his desire, does that describe Peleus? No. About his desire, does that describe what kind of telling we've got going on? The answer to that is yes. It's describing what kind of telling. So we have about, desire, his. Okay, now we have for the golden fleece. Does for the golden fleece describe told? Well, could you take out this prepositional phrase? Does this prepositional phrase have a direct relationship with the telling? Could you, Peleus told for the golden fleece? No. You can say Peleus told about his desire because those are directly related. However, for the golden fleece is not describing the told. For the golden fleece, is it describing Peleus? He is a for the golden fleece kind of Peleus. No. Does it describe Jason? It's a for the golden fleece Jason. No. Does it describe desire? Is it a for the golden fleece kind of desire? Yes. So it goes right here. For. Now, we've got to talk about the object of this preposition here. You have two choices. You can either say the golden fleece is significantly different than just fleece, which is sheepskin. So the golden fleece is one unique item, and we're looking for the golden fleece. And that would be just fine. In that case, what you're saying is this is a compound noun, that those words are working together. You could also say, and I would be just fine with it, saying, nope, this is a fleece, and golden is describing it. Both those options are correct. But if you notice the key, I made a mistake in not capitalizing, so make sure you capitalize anything that's capitalized in the sentence itself. Okay, let's go after the next one. It's way easier than it looks. Okay, Jason recruited Atalanta, Meleager, Pollux, Theseus, others. By the way, all of Greek mythology is essentially one giant fanfic. So if somebody writes a character who ends up being very popular, like Atalanta, everyone else just borrows her too and writes their own stories. So who's doing the action? Because the action is recruited. Who's doing the action? Jason. That means we have subject, verb. Jason recruited. I'm not writing the whole thing out. You know what I'm talking about. Now, normally you would say Jason recruited, and then you would have Atalanta here. But that's not what we have going. What we have going is a list. Who did he recruit? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that means, well, and actually 5, because I also have others. That means I'm going to have to split this into 1. And I'm not going to draw lots of lines like this. That would get way too crowded. That's not how we do it. What we do is we draw our dotted line, and everything connects to the dotted line. So I'm going to write a great big bracket here. And then I have Atalanta, Meleager, Pollux, Theseus, others. And we put my and there. Looks complicated. It follows the same rules. Sometimes you just have to bend the rules a little bit to figure out how to get that in. But if you know how to diagram 2 list items, then you can diagram 5 list items. Okay, Jason showed them the map to Colchis and the warning about the sleepless dragon. That would be the dragon that's guarding the golden fleece. So, again, what's the action? Showed. Who's doing the showing? Jason. That gives me my subject and my verb. What did he show them? Well, the object that's being showed is the map. So that is going to be the direct object. But watch it. What else does he show them? What else is he directly showing them? He's showing them the warning. That means I've got one subject, Jason. I've got one verb, showed. But I have 2 different direct objects. He showed them 2 things. He showed them map and he showed them warning. So that is my basic main idea. Jason showed map warning. So let's start putting the other stuff in. Them. Well, Jason showed the map and warning to them. So I could put that in a prepositional phrase. And that means this is indirectly related to showed. If it's indirectly related here, I'm going to put it here. This is my indirect object. Showed them the map to Colchis. I have a relationship word to followed by a noun. That's a prepositional phrase. To Colchis is describing the map. And I spelled that wrong. Yeah, get rid of that H. Yeah. Good enough. And, of course, and always goes on that dotted line. Hopefully your geometry is a little better than mine because I'm writing on a computer. Not the best. The warning about the sleepless dragon. About is a relationship word. That means it's the start of a prepositional phrase. You now need to find the noun that ends that phrase. The, not a noun. Sleepless, not a noun. Dragon, that is the thing. So that is my prepositional phrase. So the first word and the last word, that gives us about, beginning, it ends, dragon. Where do I put the and sleepless? Well, the sleepless. So that is I think we're on number 7. Okay, number 8. We are now introducing Medea. By the way, Medea is a bit of an object lesson. If a man promises you the world, please do not sell out your father and kill your brothers, although in Medea's defense, she killed them accidentally. But do not give up your entire life for a man who whispers sweet words because he needs your magic spell. It's not going to end well. And when I say it doesn't end well, that is an understatement. Let me tell you, sometimes people forget that in mythology, these women are way more dangerous than you would think. Most of the stories with really strong women get left out of the children's anthologies of myths because when the women lose it, it's not PG. Definitely not PG. So, wow! Remember how we would put that above the line? Wow! Although clearly we need to capitalize that. There you go. Jason told Medea and her servants everything about his quest. So, what's our action? Told. Who's doing the telling? Jason. So that means I've got subject, verb, pretty straightforward. Jason told. Now, what did he actually tell? He didn't tell Medea. What he told was he told everything. That is the object that is most directly being told. So, Jason told everything. Okay. So, Medea and her servants. Well, again, here's the trick. Wow, Jason told everything to Medea and her servants. That means this could be a preposition, which means we should have a prepositional phrase. Indirectly, this is all about the telling. It's not what's being told, but it's who it's being told to. But we don't actually have a preposition, so that's why we've got the unknown X. But I have another problem here. I don't have one person being told. I have 2. So I am going to split this. Instead of having one preposition line, instead I'm going to split it into 2. Who did he tell? Medea, servants. And of course, he would tell her servants, and make sure that you write "and" on the line here. So, wow, Jason told Medea and her servants everything about the quest. What is it that about the quest is describing? Well, it's the everything, because he didn't tell her everything in creation, just about the quest. So, about quest. And if you notice, when I'm doing a prepositional phrase, first word, last word. First word, last word. The things in the middle are the danglies. So, there you go with number 8. Okay, number 9. Has Medea promised Jason her father's golden fleece and her own hand in marriage? Yeah, some stories have Medea actually falling in love with Jason. Other stories have Aphrodite messing with Medea's head so she'll fall for Jason. But however it happens, Medea actually helps Jason steal her father's golden fleece by drugging the dragon. And when they are escaping, Medea leaves with Jason on his ship. The king sends all of his ships after them to get the golden fleece back, and Medea uses her magical powers as the granddaughter of Helios, the sun, to summon up a storm to slow her parents down, to slow down her father and her brothers. But the storm is too large, and her brothers are killed in the storm that she summons. So, not a pretty story, but that's still a nicer story than how their marriage ends in a, well, sort of divorce. A mythology version of divorce. Not pretty. So, who's doing the promising? Medea. So there's going to be my subject and my verb, but remember when we ask a question, the helping verb often goes up front. So what we have is Medea has promised. Okay, so I know that much of my main idea line. What did she promise? Well, she promised the fleece, and she promised, now it's easy to say she promised marriage, but take a look at this. I have a relationship word in followed by a noun, marriage. That means this is a dangly. So in marriage, what is it describing? It's describing her hand. So what is it that Jason actually was promised? Hand. Okay, so Medea has promised two things. Promised fleece and promised hand. Because remember, prepositional phrases never go on our main idea line. That's why we want to make sure that we're putting who's doing the action up front so that we don't end up with main ideas in prepositional phrases. Okay, Medea has promised fleece, hand. And now we can start putting the danglies in. Her father's golden fleece, so we have her father's golden fleece. And it's going to go here. And no, I'm not doing it terribly in detail, but this is just so that you understand why I'm putting things. So go look at the key if you want it done neatly. Her own hand in marriage. In marriage. Okay. Now, that leaves Jason. At this point, I'm really hoping you realize Jason is not what is being promised. It's not directly related to the verb, but indirectly it's related because that's who the promise is to. Medea promised the golden fleece to Jason. Because it has the same function as a preposition, we put it on a prepositional phrase bracket, but we don't have a preposition. It's an unknown. To whom? To Jason. That is your indirect object because it's indirectly related to the verb. It's not what's directly being promised, but it's related. So that is number 9. One more, and that one is so easy. I'm going extra fast on it. Okay, so in that one, we have Jason and Medea, two subjects brought together. Fed, make sure that line goes all the way through. Fed, what did they feed? Okay, they fed meat to the dragon. No, we don't have the word to there, which is why we have an unknown. So they fed the dragon drugged meat. When you're trying to find your indirect object, you have to always remember that this indirect object could be dragged to the back. So if I have Jason fed the dragon meat, that is actually the same sentence as Jason fed, what did he actually feed? Meat to the dragon. So those two are saying the exact same thing. So they both need to be put into an angle bracket under the verb. In this case, with the indirect object, you just end up with that unknown X. It's really important that you get comfortable with indirect objects. They are not as common in English, but what you're going to find is the SATs and ACTs love to use the indirect object structure because if you haven't seen the sentence, it sounds awkward. And students, because they're trusting their ear rather than actually learning grammar, students will look at this sentence, Jason fed the dragon meat, and they'll say, oh, it just sounds awkward. I bet I have to fix it. And they will change that sentence on the SATs even though the sentence is correct as written. So you want to make sure that you're really comfortable with indirect objects. So if you struggled with any of these, hopefully you are more comfortable with them now, and hopefully you are ready to take a test.